Okay. Today is, a fireside chat, and we chose this format because we want it to be an engaging, interesting session where every one of us we are discussing, we are um, um, sharing ideas, asking real questions that everyone will benefit from. Just have an overall impactful session this evening. We have an industry powerhouse who is our guest speaker today. She is, it's our pleasure to introduce Ella George. Ella is a business strategist and the managing partner at HillBridge Consulting, with over 15 years of experience in banking and management consulting across Nigeria and the USA. Ella specializes in helping small and mid-sized companies to develop strategies and implement the strategies in a way that is, it will drive business growth. As a certified management consultant, she has worked closely with CEOs and leadership teams across early stage, mid-sized, and large organizations to build high-performing organizations, integrating strategic planning, organizational development, and business systems to achieve measurable results. Her approach has helped businesses increase their revenues by 50 to 3 up to 300% within 1 year. Today, she joins us to share her insights on how recognition strategies can transform workplace culture, boost engagement, and drive profitability. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Ella George. Thank you, Ella, for joining us this evening. It's a real pleasure having you here with us. I'm excited because I know that we are going to have a really good time here today. Just, taking off from your experience working with lots of businesses and understanding their burning issues. We believe that this, is going to be a really engaging session for every one of us here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It is good to be here. I'm excited for the conversation that we're going to have, the lessons, because I also always wear my learning hat. There's always something to pick up. So yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. So we're going to go right to it. I think some more people are joining us. We'll just continue and they'll keep joining as the conversation progresses. Um, my first question to you will be, why do you think recognition and rewards um, is a core, or do you think recognition and rewards is a core business strategy rather than just a HR initiative?
It is. I think it is. And wherever it's not, it should be. Because at the end of the day, whatever beautiful strategies we develop, whatever fantastic ideas we have, it will be deployed by people. And if those people are committed and excited to get to work Monday morning to Friday and, give blood, sweat, and tears to it, the outcome is going to be so much different than when they just treat it like a job that they need to. So it's important that we don't just talk the talk when it comes to saying, oh, people are this, that, but literally put our money where our mouth is when it comes to the people that we have within our organizations and rewarding the good work or the progress that they exhibit. So yes, it is very important.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. But I mean, you said a very some interesting things there. You said if you're not doing it, you should do it. You should reward and recognize your people, and look at it as it's not just a HR checkbox that you are ticking somewhere.
Yeah.
However, do you think that people, because I believe that I'm sure that executives have heard about the concept of rewarding. They understand, they most likely know what recognition is because, either they've worked somewhere before or just even the simple concept of being a human being. Everybody likes to be rewarded. Everybody likes to be recognized, or most people, right? So what do you think is holds executives or companies back from implementing this? Because, and the reason we're asking this question is really, or the real question here is, do you think the holdback is from misconceptions? And if this is, what are these misconceptions that businesses have about recognition and reward programs? Because to me, this is most likely the only reason, one of the biggest reasons why recognition and reward programs will not be implemented. There are misconceptions or myths around it. What do you think those things are?
While I think that there are misconceptions and those misconceptions hold people back, I think it's more where the focus is. You know how they say, whatever gets tracked grows, whatever gets measured gets improved. And the world that we live in today, the business environment, the economy, I think attention has just shifted to whatever the focus is, top line, bottom line, but the numbers are front and center. That's what's discussed, in every performance review, every board meeting, and so those numbers, I think, then gain so much attention. And to be honest, whether you're an entrepreneur or just an executive, there always is pressure to keep the reward for good work is more work, right? Yeah. So there's that constant pressure to keep upping the numbers. And I think reward gets lost in that whole effort and rallying to make sure that we're hitting the numbers. So it's just about push. Let's get everyone on their toes, make sure no one is slacking, and then it goes. So if you sit any reasonable leader down, I want to believe that most of them know that it's important, but it's easy to forget how that is the thing that, what is it they call them in corporate world? Again, I've left corporate world, I'm now with SMEs and our language is quite different, but, leading KPIs, lagging KPIs, I think a lot of times it's just where the focus is that makes us, miss out. And then you find, I've seen cases where you remind someone of just how important this is. They put in place some initiatives, run with it for a couple months, and before you know it, it's back to status quo, So that's where I think the disconnect really lies.
So what I'm hearing you say is that while there are misconceptions, that is not the reason why, or you don't think that is the core reason
why yes,
for recognizing and rewarding. And I think I agree with you. I agree with you. However, what that also means is that, you said something where you don't track, where you don't measure, what you measure doesn't get done, right?
Yes.
If recognition and rewards is such an important tool that can help you drive your top line, why is there a separation? So why do you think business leaders will look at this in silos? So it's not recognition and rewards versus revenue. It's actually recognition and rewards to drive your revenue.
Yes.
Exactly. So if that is the real case, why do you think business leaders look at each in isolation? Because I think that one is a means to an end. So if it's one of your strategies, why, if there's so much focus on your top line, why are you not considering recognition or rewards? Is it because of misconceptions? Is it because you don't think, you just don't see it as a valid strategy to driving top line?
So, very, very brilliant question that really calls for, in-depth thoughts around this whole issue.
Yeah.
But is everyone here operating in Nigeria? Is everyone on this call operating in Nigeria? Because our matter is different.
I mean, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, Africa.
Yeah, so I mean, there are questions in the
let us know in the comments. It will be good to know, because there's also that subtle cultural connection that I see, which I will get to in a second. I think there's also from the home to different pillars of a society, there's also this thing about how people are able to get results and the stories that are propagated about how people get results from their people. Some majority that I have encountered, this may or may not be true for the whole, but the majority that I have encountered think that there's a certain level of, firmness and assertiveness and discipline and strictness, and you don't want it to get to their heads, right? That just stays in the background. And first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. We all agree that when it comes to recognition, there's some that are very formal, structured, expected, and then there are others that are more on the spur of the moment.
Correct.
My take is that while each, plays a very strong role, I think that there is a really, really powerful force in the informal type of recognition that is more around the culture in an organization, right? The ease with which people give praise, share, things that they've observed about their team members, how someone came through, that cultural element, I think, plays a really huge part. It's not like we're not looking forward to the bonuses, but I think that makes people really feel valued, and that helps them come to. So let's establish that baseline, right? You then have this combative, opposing mindset that some have and often speak about as to why sometimes it gets to people's head when you either, recognize them. You hear things like, okay, this person was so at one time, and I just don't know, maybe he got to, and so we revert to pushing and, withholding rewards and praise and recognition, and let's it just again be about we're not here to play, right? This is business, and let's stick to it. People know, but there are so many influences that we don't even realize affect us and the way we do things. So this is why I think it's taking a back seat, as against using this as a tool to prop people up. Let's just put it this way, EJ. For any leader in today's world, in this part of the world where we are, I saw somebody was in Canada. This may or may not be true there. But where we are, where I am, Nigeria, Africa, for anyone to adopt recognition and reward as a strategy for driving top-line growth, it has to be deliberate. And it has to be because this person has seen the difference between those who prioritize rewards and recognition and, put all those initiatives that ensure their employees are truly happy. It's not just putting snooker board in the office, right? They have seen the difference in those organizations that prioritize it versus those that don't. And they have to consciously remind themselves and stay on top of it. Because sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes it can also be expensive. So I think that for anyone to go ahead and say this is what leads to this, or is a primary factor that leads to this, it has to be deliberate. If you leave it as default, you will just prioritize the other and adopt the approach of just push. Yeah, when we get to the big things, we can celebrate. But for now, let's just roll up our sleeves and work.
Okay. That was a really brilliant response. Thank you, Ella. My next question would also pick something that you said. You mentioned earlier on, you talked about informal recognition, right? Just from your experience, informally recognizing people is get the results, right? That's me paraphrasing what I heard you say.
Yes.
So my next question would be, if informal recognition is what gets the result, how effective do you think a well-structured reward system can be to can contribute to business growth and sustainability?
So a well-structured one is still very effective because we're living in a time when it's become very okay to stay with an organization 6, 12, 18 months and move on. Right? That has become the norm. And as for the sake of this conversation, let's also agree that mostly when we talk about this, we're talking about the A players, B players, right? Not those that you can't wait to shoot the door. Let's just agree for the sake of this conversation.
What I like to refer to as unicorn talents or unicorn employees.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
So these are also the ones who are constantly in touch with, their what do they call the people that follow connections on LinkedIn? These are also the ones who are constantly checking Glassdoor. These are the ones that recruiters are trying to headhunt or poach, like and peek, literally. Yeah. So they're very much aware of the value that they bring. They're very much aware of what the going rate is, and they know that if they need to, they can easily pivot to another organization. And so it's very important that these people from the get-go kind of have an expectation of what to expect. So you do X, you can expect Y. And it's not, this is a big digression, but there's a multinational that we were discussing a few days ago, and by we, I mean my husband and I, so just at home having the conversation. And he was telling me about a former staff who wanted to leave because in 12 years, had gotten just one promotion. Pack that in one corner. But I mean, if the person is still there, they're probably not that bad, right?
Yeah.
Versus you pick somebody who maybe joined the organization at the same time, moved after 2-3 years, moved again after 2-3 years, moved again after 2-3 years. The realities right now would be very different.
Yeah.
So it's yes, there will be those who it takes a very long time to realize, that they're not being accorded the value and recognition that they deserve. But the unicorn talents do know that. So it's very important that you have something in place that makes it exciting for them to stay on. And they would not feed off of a pat on the back here and there or employee of the month plaque.
Absolutely.
So it's important that guided by HR business partners, we have a way of balancing both the formal and informal, so that we can really keep their attention because they're hotcakes.
So what I've heard you say is, well, informal, the informal reward. I don't call it reward. So recognitions can be informal and be effective. However, you have unicorn players, you have to have rewards. Yes, you have to have reward systems that they can hold on to.
Tangible,
tangible reward systems that you can be transparent about. Is not spontaneous. Informal recognitions can be very spontaneous, but want to have structured reward systems that can help you, that can provide transparency and clarity on what they expect, and of course, in turn, drive top line and business growth. Thank you. I believe there are polls going on now. These polls are, just quick questions to help get you.
I want to vote as well.
Yeah, you can. It's right there. I think it's right there. Just vote. Answering questions on your employee retention, recognition. We want to hear your thoughts. And if you would like, we can most likely maybe send the results, the collated results, to everyone after this session. Yes. So it'd be great to get your feedback. Let's hear what you think. Know what your biggest challenges are. Yep. So my next question for our amazing guests here is on, we want to go deeper or dive deeper into the business impacts of recognition, and rewards. How do you think recognition and rewards can impact profitability, employee engagement, and retention? And you can give an example so it's relatable and people can understand it.
Okay.
Right again.
So I will. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes. I was asking if I should take the question. Should I?
Yeah. So how can it drive profitability? What and what?
Employee engagement and retention.
Okay, let's call them all the good stuff. let's call them all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to start with what I saw in my own self in the course of my early career when I was with organizations, and what I've continued to observe with most people. Okay. There's this thing that happens where you, on the part of a leader, let me take it first of all from part of the leader, and you will have to stay with me. And even if my brain distracts me, just stay with me. Okay. So you have the leader oftentimes who puts out what it is they want, have high expectations, assume this person is excellent driven, there is a way they want things done. And on the flip side, you have these, employee who's got just limited experience, are trying to do what they can and find their way in this big world of, all things corporate. Many times there's uncertainty. Many times you have not been exposed. There's a certain level of confidence, not a certain. There is confidence that comes with exposure, whether we admit it or not. Absolutely. And one of the things that's very quick to remind, dissatisfied, impatient CEOs and executives about is that, look, you must still operate with grace when dealing with those much younger and less experienced, because you are taking for granted the expertise, years, exposure that it's taken for you to get here. And so to have Absolutely. That same degree, interesting, someone's at the door. So to have that same degree of expectation from these people, sometimes it really is being unfair, right? So as you go up the ladder, first of all, there's that thing where expectations have risen, and then on the flip side is this person who really is just trying to find their foot. Now, if we understand this is what's happening, you'll then find that you take one person who came in with a decent amount of confidence, pretty intelligent, had an idea about what they were doing, and they make a couple mistakes here and there. They, do what they can, but feel very unseen. And like, each time they get it right, not much is said about that. But each time something goes wrong, someone just goes off. Another time, what this does is actually chips away at the confidence of that person, which is the opposite of what you want. So instead of them becoming, those who can just take this idea, run with it till the end, they become people who are making silly mistakes and, just giving the barest minimum, so to speak. But when there is a good amount of recognition, reward, praise, a culture that allows you to experiment, recognizes when you've done fantastic, recognizes when there's improvement. Let me say that again, because this is the one that we're so busy that we don't pick it. They know when they've improved. If we have time, I'll tell you a story about somebody that I worked with, right? So they know when they've improved and they expect to be seen. So when it's not seen, it doesn't help. But when somebody is observing that you've come from 1 to 1.2 on your way to 10, and you've gone from 1.2 to 2.7 in a space of 3 months, what it does is to boost the person's confidence and ability in themselves. Now they're willing to take on more risks. Now they're willing to look a little more closely. Now they're willing to go the extra mile. And these are the things that put together lead to all those good stuff you asked about, profitability, engagement, whatever. But it starts with the person. right? So in as much as business is business and we cannot let go of, we can't take our eyes off of the KPIs and the results that we want to see. We must always recognize that at the end of the day, we're still dealing with humans. And the results that humans deliver have a lot to do with how they feel.
Yep.
Whether we like it or not. That's what it is. So for me, the biggest benefit is how it gets them to feel about themselves, which then allows them to do so much more than even they thought they could, just because somebody sees them, somebody has picked up on something, and now they want to do more of what they. It's like I was listening to who was it? I listened to too many people, Jerry. I was I was listening to someone lately who was talking about, that focus on what it is you want versus what it is you don't want. Many of us were thrown into leadership roles, have had to, figure things out on our own. But when you see leaders who know how to pick on the progress that people are making and know how to boost, confidence in others, very quickly, everyone on their team starts to act and think like them and deliver the results like them, versus those who constantly pick on the things that you're not doing right, or just assume that I don't need to clap for you because you did your job. Hello, there is a difference.
Absolutely. And Ella, that is so relatable. In terms of, my position as well on leading people. The summary of what I've heard you say is, if you're working with people, be human, and you would basically, and it's a graph no one else can. That doesn't really, because it can be pretty subjective. So you can't hold on to it to say, if you are human, you will see the improvement there's a direct correlation to your top line. But what I'm hearing you say very loudly is, if you're working with people, you're working with human beings, let your culture be human. And your recognition styles, your rewarding style, your rewards, and you will see a direct growth in your top line, and of course trickle down to bottom line if you have a good cost structure.
Yeah.
Okay. My next, are there questions from anyone? If you have questions for our guests, please drop it, and we'll be very happy to take it as we go over all the list of questions that we have outlined for her.
The list. Okay.
Yeah, most likely the polls. My next question for you will be to tell me, how can rewards help businesses reduce customer churn, boost retention, and drive long-term loyalty? I know that all we've been talking, so I'm sure we know that there are two types of customers. We have the internal customers and we have the external, right? We have been talking a lot about the internal customers. What is your experience around leveraging reward to help you, leveraging rewards to help the business reduce customer churn, boost retention, and drive long-term loyalty?
So, interestingly, well, times have changed, though. Times have changed. So, there was a time when things were very different from what they are right now. Bless you. From what they are right now, which is we're now in a time where people, even, what am I saying, people? I still complain today. Today. Yes, I complained. Let me tell you what it was. So there's a salon. There is a salon that we use close to home. It's a unisex salon. So go there a couple of times. I mostly prefer people coming home. But I introduced my husband and my kids and my sister, and they all use the salon.
Yeah.
And I took my hair, because I have an event tomorrow. So I took my hair there to start today. And in the course of talking, I mentioned, oh, my birthday, you guys did not even send me anything. And over the last 3 years, I've brought you XYZ number of people.
Mhm.
Even I complained. What are they going to send me, really? What are they going to send me? So it's not anything, but customers want to be seen. I started with people and then corrected myself and inserted even an example from today. We want to be seen as customers.
Yeah.
We want to be recognized for our loyalty because we have options. We all have options, you know. So it's also really important that, in fact, from the beginning of the year, as you're setting the goals, and in the SME space, I still see this mistake so often. When people are looking at, you know, the big goals that they're setting and the kind of customers they want to acquire, a lot of times conversations around retention or building loyalty either happen towards the tail end of it or don't happen at all. Which is a huge mistake because marketing costs are increasing. Sweetheart, have you tried LinkedIn ads lately? Marketing costs are increasing.
Yep.
So isn't it in our best interest really to ask questions around how can we keep our people? How can we reward and make them want to stay?
Yep.
And part of the reason we're not doing this enough, I think, is also because we run away from research. We run away from research, to be honest. A lot of us don't want to sit down, identify 100 people, ask them, you know, a specific question that lead us to insights straight from data. We don't like to do it because if we did, we will also know that much of what people even put out there as rewards for their existing customers are a joke. Like a supermarkets that put the other time, I gave it to them. Trust me, I gave it to them. Put there that, oh, you spend, and Naira was still something. This was probably like 4 years ago. Naira was still something. You would spend 2M before you got 2,000 Naira. Meanwhile, every time they would expect you to bring out the loyalty card, and all you're doing is waiting for me to get to 2M before you give me 2,000. Are you a joke? Or do I look like a joke to you? So what I'm trying to say is customers are also not stupid. Right? So sometimes what we put in place really is just a joke. It's almost like we just want to tick the box that we have some type of reward for customers.
Absolutely.
Which doesn't make sense. So for anyone who wants to get it right, it's to sit down like we did. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable because you're hearing things that you're like, are you for real? Do you want to put me out of business? You know, but it allows you hear from them what they want, what makes them feel valued, and then implement those things. So it's really, have I gone off tangent?
Oh, no, you're right on the money. Right.
Okay.
What I'm hearing. Keep going.
Okay, so it's really important because every competitor that is worth their salt is sitting down in their conference and meeting rooms thinking about how they can poach your customers, right? And it doesn't make sense that we just keep doing everything we can, hiring all these influencers, spending money on Google and LinkedIn and TikTok ads and all that, where we're not doing that much to retain a good chunk of those that we have because we don't want to prioritize rewards or we don't want to look closely at it. Like, I don't know, sometimes we really, anyway. Yeah.
That was very brilliant. I agreed with every single thing you said. A key one for me, instead of constantly burning ad dollar or whatever ad dollar or ad spend might mean to you and your company, why not, you know, have a very solid strategy around retaining the ones who have found you and, you know, can potentially be loyal to your brand or your company. Thank you very much, Ella, for that.
And happily speak about you, you know, happily speak about you. It matters. So I'll give you an example of one way that I personally reward most of our clients at HillBridge. One way that I do that is so first of all, it's a bit easy for me because there's a certain aura or spirits that I have, right?
Yeah.
That people who work with me, 90% of the times, they self-select into my space. Like they've looked around and figured this is who I want. So it's already like kindred spirit. So a lot of times clients feel like soul clients. They feel like friends because so many values align. So that is a key point in what I want to say. So because of that, and because I know they pay attention to the small things, they don't have that anyhowness that you see in, you know, much of our businesses and how we do things. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So because of that, one of the things that I do is often, I don't know if you call it some type of reward or whatever, but my clients, I become a customer to my clients. So if I know, for instance, that, you know, you're a travel agent and you do a good job and you this, I suddenly will stop using whoever I was using before who's never worked with me and shift to you, right? So that, and I think those things really count. So is that a kind of reward? Is it a reward? Whatever, but I do it and it helps.
Yeah, it's under the reward recognition bucket, and I completely it's reward for working with us, right? I'm sure there's a class of that type of reward that the whole team can talk about, and I completely agree with you. I'm trying not to give any example about myself, but just to add to what you said, I remember a client of ours who is a fabric merchant, and just being one of our clients, I was traveling to Nigeria sometime last year, and I needed to get loads of fabrics. There was no other, I mean, no matter how great your fabric was, it wasn't an option for me. We had to buy from our clients. It's simple, right? And even just little things. There's a client of ours who was talking about how she's had a very tough week, and and this was not the company, this was me. Personally, I got her a spa ticket, right? To make her feel good. Remember what you said. Everybody will love to be seen, whether you're dealing with your vendor, whether you're dealing with your volunteers, whether you're dealing with your paid employees, whether you are dealing with your customers. At the heart of all of these groups I've talked about is a human being who loves to be seen. So recognition, however you want to express that, is very important. However you want to express your rewards, is important. I would always recommend structured systems around rewards. Recognitions can be flexible, right? I can make you feel seen so what you talked about earlier was making the customer feel seen, by equally making them a customer. You can play around with whatever you're comfortable with, look at the situation, read the room, and express show your customer you value them, show your people you value them, and just don't hold back on expressing all of that. I think we can only take maybe one or two more questions at this point, but I think you've covered a number of the other questions I was going to ask. Can you give one practical example of businesses that improved employee performance just by introducing a strong reward system? And you don't need to share names if there's confidentiality around it.
Did you say that improved performance?
Yes, improved employee performance just by introducing a strong reward system.
Okay. Why do I feel like that music? Right. So there's somebody I would have loved to share about the particular CEO, but in their own case, well, we could say we could tie the two. Let me tell you what happened with this person. So they run a tech firm, have been around for a long time, also operate very closely in the crypto space, right? And you know how it is, there's a lot of secrecy around the operations and stuff like that. And it's also one of those spaces where the good ones have either jackpot or, for anybody who does not know what jackpot means, it's rated out, right? So they've either left or they're working for organizations outside of Africa.
Yeah.
And one of the big issues on ground when we came to this organization was how the oldest hands, who were not the best, have stayed the longest. Yet, when the new ones came, it would not take a long time, and out they go. there was no, one of the things we did, because you usually do an audit to know what's in place, what's working well, what's not, all that good stuff, right? And one of the things we found was that there was no structure. When I say no structure, you can have two people with very similar backgrounds, very similar years of experience, very similar everything, and depending on the mood of the CEO, who was the final decision maker, y'all will be earning stuff so different. That's the level of lack of structure that was in place in terms of yes, it was that bad. So of course it was no surprise that the good hands were leaving and then the old ones were staying. Later on, we even found there was a lot of fraud issues, which was why those ones had figured out the system. Story for another day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about improving the results now. The first thing that happened after we put in a structure in place, which this client fought. And why did they fight it? Because it turned out that there were a good number of people who were just not being fairly rewarded, period. And adjusting the scales so that if you have XYZ, you fit into this category. If you have ABC, you are in this grade. Adjusting that scale meant a lot of money had to be spent, right? Which they did not. However, it took back and forth, box, agree, disagree. We finally got there. The money was spent, yes. And of course, along with other works behind the scenes, you could see how that now allowed them to not just attract, but keep in a decent amount of time the people that they were getting. And tech bros and sis don't stay long.
Yep.
Right? They are in and out. But it allowed them to keep that because there was also, okay, so for meeting X, number of KPIs or X percentage of your KPIs, this is what you get. There's no way, I want to talk about how it improved retention because that was the first thing that we saw. But along with that retention, then came a general and overall increase in productivity for the organization as a whole, because it stopped being about, random complaints, very random complaints, and started being about how can we justify all of these, excesses, additional faith, the rewards, the recognition, all of this. How can we justify it? And that really increased. Now, there are different ways that this shows up, but if you measure whatever change you're putting in place when it comes to remunerations, rewards, recognition, changing the culture to allow people experiment. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. If I have not, I'm going to add it as part of this because that's another thing that I've seen. When you give people the freedom and they don't have the fear, they can talk about their ideas, play with it. It's okay to try something, waste a little money, without everybody breathing down your neck. When you put in place those kind of changes, if you monitor and track, within 3 to 6 months, you're going to see a tangible difference in some KPIs. You will. This has been, whether we're talking of a small organization with 15 staff or a larger organization with 300 plus staff, you will see these things happen. You will see the changes. So one does affect the other. If it is prioritized, once it starts being measured, because of course, as you're putting in these things in place, you're also very clearly communicating to them what your expectations are. But they're more willing to play ball because you are also being fair. And so it's a tit for tat thing. You're muted.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. Absolutely. Thank you, Ella. I think as you were talking about your last point, I think you touched on my next 1 or 2 questions, really around, giving us practical steps that busy leaders can take to embed recognition into the culture, company's culture, without it becoming an added burden. I think I heard you. I could take some of responses from your last point and how you took us through that journey or that practical example. So we'll go right now to, opening up the floor to take questions.
From
Questions
audience.
for everyone. Yeah, please give us questions if you have, and we'll be very happy to answer them. We also have some polls in the chat room. If you click, you will see some highlights, some blue pop-ups somewhere at the bottom right of the screen. There are 5 icons at the bottom right. The third one is the chat with everyone, and the fourth one is activities. If you click it, you'll see the polls. Please click to take the polls. There are a number of interesting polls that we've put out to get feedback from you. And like we said, we'll share the results with everyone. Oh, good. Please go
Grace.
ahead. If Eva Leo, did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Hi, Eva Leo. Hi, Eva Leo.
Just
Great.
call me Ogo.
Ogo, yes.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
to have you here, Ogo.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for this. And Ella, thank you for the wonderful contribution. I want to make like a comment. I know that recognition, reward means different things to different people. And I also like to look at reward from like trying to understand at what level people are in their hierarchy of needs. That way you're able to know what they understand. But like we know, the hierarchy of needs is just like a generalization. And I can also see from your poll or from a comment that if we would like to participate, if we are being presented with something that can help us with this reward. I know that with experience working with people, I know that it means different things for different people. And a wonderful approach will be giving your people the opportunity to tell you what motivates them, how they would like to be rewarded. And if you like having personalized reward for some, you might look at it and say that it's expensive, but if you get it right, it's not really. It could even be small things. There are people that their reward might not even be money. It could be that recognition, little recognition that you fail to give, right? So if you understand this better, you are able to understand. And I know that recently reward has gone beyond the monetary, the monetary reward to the total reward system, where you think about, is it just a little recognition? Is it just like sending them on a trip? Is it just is it promotion? Is it increment in salary? Whatever it is, let your people tell you how they want to be rewarded. And if we have like an app or something that helps us understand how they want to be rewarded, it will really help. And another thing I also want to say is that when we have this, it will also be good, like you said, to track the impact this is having, because every CEO wants to make profit. But how about we showing you this evidence that this is what we've done in 6 months, this is the return on the investment. In 1 year, this is the return on the investment. They definitely would say, oh, if this is this, then I want all of this. So if we have a system that tells us how our people want to be rewarded and is also able to track, or we are able to track the impact of that, I think it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ogo, for the very, I think you want to say something, Ella.
Yeah, so I was really happy that she shared that, because it is true. Sometimes what you think is going to excite your people may just be, and I can't claim that we have always done this. Sometimes we just think of during brainstorming session and implement. But in the cases where we have taken time to ask people, sometimes you'd be surprised as what they want as rewards. Like the one time that somebody asked for a dinner or lunch meeting with the CEO, that was the reward I had never heard that before, right? Yeah. But when we had asked, how would you want to, in your ideal, if you could pick anything, if you could get anything you want, the people who are big on personal development might lean towards that. Those who are big on lifestyle might lean towards the trips and the vouchers to.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you mentioned that that those points. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olga. Yeah, are there more questions, please? If you have questions, if you can speak up, which I believe you should, but if you can, that's okay. You can drop it in the chat room. Oh, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that there are some questions in the questions section of the platform. Yes, there are 2 anonymous questions there. I'm not sure who posted them.
I see. Okay, thank you. The first question is, how do you balance monetary versus non-monetary rewards to maximize employee motivation?
How do you balance it? I don't think there's any right or wrong way. Often it would depend on the existing culture, the budget available, and what you're ultimately trying to achieve in the short to medium term. So it may just be a case of sitting with a select, depending on the size, sitting with a select group to ask, what it is people want, what people would like to see, what they don't like, so you can remove or delete, and then match that with your budget to see where you can put in place the monetary the monetary ones. But at every point in time, I think everyone should aim to be doing something under both categories, but I don't think that there's really any right or wrong, because you could want to do there might be willingness, but ability is lacking. And if you go ahead to put something that you cannot then follow through, then you've raised even more, your integrity is in question. Your integrity is in question. So the balance would come from what is available over the next 1 year for us to invest in reward system as a whole, and then how can we split it, and then we hear from people as to what they like. That's my take, but EJ, you might have something different.
No, I mean, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's based on your budget, balancing. And to add to what you said, as a company, what we always say is we like to follow the number trail. And I think you touched on that maybe some minutes ago. Data is everything, almost everything. Balancing monetary versus non-monetary rewards to maximize employee motivation. Ask your people. Find a way to ask your people, right? Because you don't want to give people monetary rewards when these people are interested in lifestyle rewards, or they're interested in just saying thank you. I know it's tough to understand because no one rejects money, but you'll be shocked that, yeah, data is everything. I will give an example. If you have, if maybe you are doing a sales drive, you will be very shocked that across the firm, there are people who selling is a nightmare, right, for them. So even if you say, if you sell this, you get 50% commission, those guys might just prefer doing things around their core work and recognizing them with a simple thank you or a public recognition. They will pick that over money. So do you get what I'm saying? Not everyone will turn down money, but don't just look at, monetary rewards and say, oh, I want you to do this and you will get this money. It might not motivate everybody. Some people will be more motivated with, you want to say something?
I want to, it's something I want to share to back up what you're saying, but
Yeah.
finish.
money is not everyone's motivation, right? Some people are just fine with just recognizing their role in the big picture. Some others are fine with just getting to have a, like you mentioned, the dinner with the CEO. I've seen companies where the employees just, they value the thank you, appreciation, right, from the CEO, from their team leads versus, you know, it sounds weird, versus you attaching money to something that is not within their capacity to really deliver on. Do you understand? So you need to follow the lead of your people, follow the numbers trail, follow the people. The people will always leave clues, right? And there is no way to know this if you do not, do very simple research. Research can be, shooting out a very quick survey to your people, a very simple poll like we've done here. This is data. Data is not as complicated as the name just seems very complex, but data is really asking questions, right? Digging deeper to get, your answers, and then you make decisions based on that.
Yeah. So while this is not an example from the corporate space, I think it leans to what you were saying about many times it's not monitoring. Now, as difficult as the Nigerian economy was last year, earlier this year, we were told by my husband's driver that one of our neighbors in the gated community where we stay had a total of 7 drivers last year. 7. Now they pay better. On average, what I hear they pay is, well, not now, but as at when, I was told that early January, what they paid was probably 30-40K more than what we pay our drivers. And they ran through 7. For context, I've been with my driver for about 3 years now. The one before him, who passed on, God rest his soul, had been with me for 7 years, right? The one who drives my husband has been with him for, I think, about 6 years now. And in the same economy, somebody who has more money, right,
Mm-hmm.
left their job on average. So that tells you less than 2 months and people
Churn is
leave.
crazy. Yeah.
So, I mean, we could have questions around, okay, what exactly was going on? At the end of the day, it was just respect and being treated like a human. That's what they wanted. But you can take this and really transfer it to a lot of companies joke with their exit interviews, what you were saying about data. By the time you hear what people are saying when they're leaving, especially if you've built a culture that allows people to openly and honestly share, it should tell you something to change or fix, but where people are leaving and no one is asking or trying to find out why, yeah. So it really isn't money all the time. It really isn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. I think the second question would be on another question here. It says, what strategies can be used to make remote or hybrid employees feel equally recognized? That's an interesting question.
Anonymous, my answer for you will not like it. I don't think we've gotten to a place in the world. Of course, there will be outliers, but generally speaking, I don't know that we've gotten to the place where the reward will be equal. There's just something about you remember, EJ, when I said I like to see people, for instance, when I'm on virtual calls, because maybe it gives me, there's just something about that human connection. Maybe their perfume adds to how much praise or recognition you give them. Maybe it's, I don't know. But on a serious note, I think there are structured rewards that can be put in place. If you're tracking and measuring KPIs, whether someone is operating from their PJs or in stilettos shouldn't matter. Everyone should get, what they deserve. The structured ones. And then same thing. So if they're operating hybrid, okay, you said hybrid is even easier. Remote, their own is a different matter. There's, I don't know, but for the structured, I can speak and say it should be the same as long as people are meeting the expectations that are in place. So you meet this, you get this. And then during meetings, it can, one of the most, is it a tactic or a technique? EJ, maybe you can tell me, because sometimes it's English thing. The sandwich method, where people say, whenever you want to give critical feedback, whenever you want to say something that is not nice, find something good to say first. Then
Absolutely.
in the middle, sandwich, the feedback, focus on the issue, focus on I think it's still
It's
been
both.
one of the valuable people lessons that I've learned, because I use this across the board from,
Same here.
yeah. And then close off again with praise, or identifying, picking on something that they've done good, something that so even in meetings, we can get into the habit of, highlighting something, this contribution that this person made, or how this person who wasn't supposed to work on this day did this extra. We can add those up as part of the non-monetary, part of the recognition. And then for the rewards, the formal rewards, everyone should be entitled to the same. But I think that there will be cases where we should just agree that remote workers may not get as much, what's the word? I mean, they're fighting, they're fighting for their rights. They're really, really fighting for their rights. Remote work. But for an organization, it shouldn't be that obvious. Attempts should be made to recognize people when they do good, wherever, whatever the format, and then the structure should not discriminate. So however you work, but yeah, that's my serious take.
Thank you very much. I mean, before we wrap up this session, we've wrapped up this session. I mean, we've taken questions. We would like to hear from this brilliant woman, Ella George, managing partner at HillBridge Consulting. Would like you to tell us about your company. I'm sure that people have heard or learned or gotten a lot from your experience. I have found it personally insightful. I found it very relatable, everything that you've shared. So we'd like to hear from you, hear about, HillBridge, what HillBridge does. And I'm sure there are people here that will find your company very valuable and hopefully timely at this time for their needs. Company. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. So what we do at HillBridge, we've been around a while now, 10 plus years. What we do is work with businesses, usually in the small and medium enterprise space, to develop and implement their growth strategies. So you've achieved a level of success, you're looking to, there's more, you feel it, that dissatisfaction. Those that you've mentored are going on to do big things, shareholders in tech, becoming unicorns, really? And I'm still here. So when there's that itch for more, for growth, whether it's expansion or optimizing the back end, what we do is develop and help implement the strategies, the structure, the system, everything that needs to be in place for growth to happen in a way that does not burn out the CEO. We have an interesting vision. It's to have more African businesses from generation to generation. So while we do work with organizations outside of this continent, our heart really beats for African companies. We want to see them do well, not just this quarter, but in the next decade and in the next generation. So again, it's a different level of back-end work that needs to be done when you're thinking 50, 100 years down the line than when you just want to, exceed your numbers for this quarter or for this fiscal year. So that's what we do. We develop strategic plans. We work with organizations, their management teams, over periods to achieve certain goals, expansion, all that good stuff. That's us in the back end. Yeah. So go ahead, dear.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
I was just
saying, sometimes I'm done and it's not done, and then I shut it.
So in addition to me being a fan of your work at HillBridge, of you personally, I mentioned to you, I feel like there are loads of similarities between us. And I think the sweetener is the fact that somehow you make me laugh. You crack me up a lot. I mean, everyone you've heard about HillBridge, there'll be a summary in the email going to everybody after this session. Just highlighting HillBridge, and if there is something for you, you'll find it in that email. I don't know. I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, I could add something. So this is the same thing I advise my clients. And so I tell anyone, when you want to do something, let's say you want to raise funding, I tell you, look, just talk to anybody who could be a potential, just have those conversations and learn how they think, how they react, the kind of questions they ask. The more you expose yourself to those conversations, the better prepared you are for the real thing when it comes along. So with what I said, which is, of course, because it's a service, whether it sounds vague or not, whether you see the opportunities there or not, I usually encourage people take advantage of the complimentary calls that we offer, right? And just hop on board and just have a 15-minute chat. You never know where that would lead, and you never know what lies down the road. Yeah, just thought to add that one.
Absolutely. And regarding the complimentary calls, you'll get that. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere in the email, the wrap-up email that will go to every one of us who have participated in this session. Yep, and you can connect with Ella, and her company and her team. You can connect with them and leverage their very helpful strategic guidance to growing your business and scaling it beyond where you are today. The other party I would like us to hear from, we've talked a lot about rewards and recognition. I want to see very practically how we can, or I would like to show everyone very practically how we can leverage RewardClan for recognition. I will have David on the call. I believe David is on the call. David is going to join us now, or going to come up shortly.
Yes.
Well, come up virtually to talk about RewardClan for a bit, and what RewardClan can, as a tool, can help us really achieve recognition and rewards in our respective work, either as business leaders, human resource personnel, etc. Thank you, David.
Thank you so much, EJ. And thank you to the bridge builder for the fantastic session that we've had. I was chatting with someone else that's on the call, and I'm like, okay, I have something I'm going to watch tomorrow. So I'm really, really grateful that we've been able to kind of do this. So what I want to do quickly, let me turn on my video as well. What I want us to do quickly is just to I want to talk a bit about RewardClan in like 2 minutes, what RewardClan is, why we are working with Grovena Advisory Partners and HillBridge Consulting to bring this webinar. And our goal is to really make this a thing and keep doing this over and over and over again. But really at RewardClan, for us, it's about how do we help businesses, how do we help founders, whether you are a one-man business, 100-man business, men and women business, how do we help you to, in a very cost-effective way, in an automated way, how do we help you recognize the people that are, driving your business, helping you achieve those bottom lines? How do we help you to, recognize your customers and engage them, right? Whether it's offline and online, right? Whichever your touch points are in terms of where your customers are. And like the two fire brands that spoke to us today have said, it's really about thinking about reward as an holistic kind of thing, instead of thinking about it in silos. And that's really what RewardClan is about. So what you're looking at is my dashboard. At the heart of RewardClan, basically, we have the customer reward and the team reward, right? So even though, like EJ said, that your internal customers and your external customers, and what we've done, is build something that for a lot of our users, is really creating tangible results, right? We saw a lot of that during the Black Friday last year. Our companies were using it to engage with their walk-in customers, at the mom and pop store, or, consulting companies using it to say thank you to their customers, right? So what I've done is I've set up a reward, for everybody that is on this call. And while I talk about, every other thing else on the platform, I'm just going to go in there and just copy the link. So let me just copy the link. I'll put it in the chat session. section, sorry, so that you can engage with it. And let's see, what you are able to claim as a result of this. And I want to say thank you again for our partners who, have collaborated with us to kind of put this wheel together and to make it work. So the link is in the comment section. Just open the comment area, click on the link. And while I continue what I'm doing, just let's see, spin the wheel, let's see what you win. Let's see what you claim. The email of whatever you win, it is not a trial thing. The email will be sent to your mailbox. And ultimately you can then follow up. The instructions and everything will be listed out there for you. But like I said, this is one of the campaigns that we've created. And what you are expecting to see is something that looks like this. So this is the wheel. We're using the RewardClan color and the HillBridge color, the color purple. So again, it's really talking about how you can customize, your own reward, right? Whether it's for your business, whether it's for your team. A lot of users that we have today, they use this for their team building activities on Fridays. And they also use it as well to engage with their customers. So if you have giveaways, if you have a buy one get one free, there was a lady that used this for a Valentine's. I was actually part of the people that took her through the strategy session, and we came up with something that was fantastic, and she's seen tremendous growth as a result of that particular campaign. Part of the beauty of RewardClan, when you're rewarding your customer as well, unlike the traditional giveaways that you do on social media, is the ability to collect data, right? Ejemen talked about that, and someone had pinned it in the comment section that data is everything, right? There are people that might not be willing to make a purchase decision immediately, but when you have their data, it means that you can hand it over to the marketing team. You can do so much with it, right? So whether it's like you're targeting students with one campaign, you're targeting professionals with another campaign, you can create as many wheels as you want. And like I mentioned, if you want to, for those that are doing offline activation, you can just generate a QR code, download the QR code, print it on your flyer, on your t-shirt. If you have a product package, you can print it there as well. Anybody scans the QR code, they go there. And if you have a website, right? So we also have this widget. So the same way that you're engaging with the widget, you can also validate as well your website. We generate for you a very nice JavaScript code, and you just copy it and paste it on your website. If you don't have a developer, my team is very happy to help you, get the code on your website for free. It's something that we do for our users because you're very, very important to us. Let me reload this. Let me see if anybody has actually claimed anything. Just a moment. Oh, fantastic. Okay, this is faster than I thought. Right. So we've had eight views. 5 people have claimed. 3 people won something, but they did not, claim their reward. I'm not sure why, but please, okay, we have quite a few people here. Fantastic. So, like I said, you can see all the information. I can see your email. I can see your full name. I can see the reward that you claimed. As somebody using RewardClan, if you wanted to collect date of birth, if you wanted to collect the agenda, you can collect custom data as much as you want, just to make sure that whatever campaign you're doing, people are able to provide the information that you want before they can actually claim the reward. So everybody that has claimed so far, please check your email. The instructions and the notes for those of you that claimed something with a coupon code, that has also been sent over as well. And I think, before I hand over, the other thing that I want to just point out, we've talked about customer reward. That is what you've engaged with. Now, there's the aspect of the product that focuses exclusively on your teams and your internal staff. Think of it as project management, task management, reward management put together, right? If they had a baby, it would be called Team Rewards on RewardClan, right? So this is what that looks like. You can see some of the tasks that I've created there, tasks that I've joined, tasks that have been added to. You can see all my team members over here as well. If I click into a task, you can see here, kind of like the leaderboard for this particular task. And I can also see the percentage contribution of every team member. So if it's a sales task, for example, sales for Q2 2025, for each team member that you add here, you're able to see, okay, what's their all-time sales figure? What is the last figure that they actually sold? And then, to the whole sum of 100%, what is the contribution of each person. So it helps you to kind of like ask important questions, right? Because you're looking at, oh, this guy he's got all these strategies, he's got all these ideas, but he's only contributing 8.9% of the total sale, right? So it helps you to ask those questions that you typically probably would not be able to ask otherwise. And then, for the busy executives, we have this little thing here that we call a tracker. Basically, what it helps you to do is look at, okay, what are the tasks that my people are doing? What is the cumulative value that they're meant to have brought in based on that task? And how much have we actually achieved? Again, it goes back to, like Iji said, asking the right questions to make sure that your team are continually being innovative and productive and so on and so forth. But ensuring that, again, reward is at the heart of everything that you do. So if you would love to learn more about the product, to learn more about how our existing users are using it, and how we are, enabling them to do better, right, than they did in 2025. The email that will be sent out, you can please click on the link there. By the time I stop sharing my screen, I would also put the link to the website in the chat section in case you want to just click on it and check out what RewardClan is all about. I look forward to speaking to us again soon, hopefully in a one-on-one demo session. Otherwise, definitely in the subsequent webinars that we're going to have in the near future. So thank you so much. Let me see while I hand over to Ejemen. I forgot to mention as well, I'm sure by the next webinar that we're doing, which will probably be in March, we have some very exciting, alternatives to the wheel that you just experienced. I mean, not everybody wants a wheel. Not every circumstance, requires a wheel. So what if it's a quiz and a survey that I want to do? Or what if it's a mystery box that I want to push out to my people? Or I would just want to offer some discount to one person? Or is there like a gated content that I'm trying to, push out on my website and I want to collect certain information and I want to reward people for giving me those information and so on and so forth, right? So I'm excited to share a lot of this with you in the next webinar that we're going to do. But thank you so much for listening. AJ, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, David, for that very interesting presentation. I'm sure that we have seen like the different ways you can reward your people, whether they're your teammates, your vendors, your customers. These are some of this is one of the creative tools that we even leverage personally, that we think will be of value to you. Every information or the information around this product will be included in the email that will go to everyone who registered or signed up for this webinar. And like David mentioned, you can reach out to him. I think that's what he said in the comments and in the chat room. Yeah, so we have come to a close. I think we're right on the money. This is 7:28 p.m. Thank you, every single one of you, for joining us and staying with us for this long. I hope you had value. I hope you had a good time. I had a great time, learning with our speaker, listening to David, and just being here with all of us. I think it was, it's been one of the most interesting 90 minutes for me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for showing up. Have a fantastic rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you and well done. Well done.
Thank you, great builder. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.